Hi guys, and in this episode we're going to be looking at three different things. First of all, we're looking at what are the most popular cars on social media, popular luxury cars that is. And there's one or two surprises in that actually, but it'll be interesting data. We're also going to be looking at how a Chinese car company has literally come from nowhere to entering the top 10 lists of the world's biggest car companies, and their rise has been absolutely extraordinary. And of course, we're also going to be looking at the fact that the latest news update regarding ULEZ and the ULEZ cameras. It seems quite a lot of them are out of action. What's being done about that? But also, there's been one camera that's been incorrectly charging people. We'll tell you all about that right after this.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
Right then, so a website called Genting Casino. Why am I looking at Genting Casino? I do not gamble, and I do not necessarily condone it. But it came as a press release, actually, to be fair. So it popped into my email. I thought, oh, this is quite interesting, because what they were looking at the most popular luxury car models and brands in 2023 in terms of social media. And of course, we know that social media is so important right now, because I am talking to you through social media. So it's absolutely crucial. So nobody cares now about car sales or any other forms of popularity, but it's about how popular cars are on social media that is clearly the most important thing. And what they've done, just in terms of how they've gone about doing this methodology. So they looked at Instagram posts and TikTok views, and they literally just used hashtags for those. And then they, for Google searches, they looked at the total number of searches for these between July 2022 and July this year. So this is in the last, so we're in October now, so it's a couple of months back, but before that it's been current up to about the 12 months up to the July of this year. Right, so let's see what they found. Okay, this is the overall most popular luxury car. So remember, luxury cars we're talking about of 2023. The most popular luxury car at number one is the BMW M3. I'm a BMW owner, so I feel good about that. Won an overall score of 9.73 out of 10. Before I tell you number two, the third place car was the BMW M4. So basically, the M3 M4 are basically the same car. One's a 3-door, one's a 2-door, and one's a 4-door. So it's the same car, but it took first and third spots. Interestingly, now Audi, the second place Audi R8. Audi R8 in second place, 9.66 out of 10 was the score. That surprised me because it's out of production now. It's an old car, basically. Why are people still looking for the Audi R8? And I really didn't think that it had as much glamour and following as it apparently still does, according to this research. I thought people had sort of, it was sort of last decade supercar now. I mean, at one point it was the car, but yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. So M3 takes the top spot. It had the model ranks because of its 4.4 million Instagram posts and 2.8 billion TikTok views. The M3 also ranks highly for its Google search volume, taking fifth place with 12.8 million searches over the last 12 months up to July 2023, as I've said. So there you go. The Audi R8, right. Built on the same platform as the Gallardo, that's basically what it is, same engine and everything. But the Gallardo then became the Huracan. The Audi R8 basically is no more, essentially. But they're still out there. There's still plenty out there. V10 engine, awesome. So this thing had 20.6 million searches on Google, 2.6 billion views on TikTok, and 3 million Instagram posts. Interesting. And then the M4 that comes in, basically 2.6 billion TikTok views, again, quite similar to the M3. So it's not really any surprise. I just want to give you some of the others that were on this list quickly. At number 4 was another BMW, the BMW M5. At number 5 was the Urus, Lamborghini Urus. That was at number 5. That got a score of 8.85 million. It had so the BMW M5 got 1.9 billion TikTok views, 2.6 million Instagram posts, and 9.7 million searches. Lamborghini Urus actually had 19 million searches. But the reason it's lower is because actually it only had 829,000 Instagram posts and but 1.1 billion on TikTok. So it's lower on TikTok and Instagram, but higher in terms of Google searches. The BMW i8, where does that come from? I mean, that's an extraordinary car that, I thought had sort of was like a blip, because the BMW i8 would never kind of fulfill the promise of that original concept, that concept that was actually seen in the Mission Impossible movie. Which one was it? I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments below. It's the one where he goes to the UAE, and then after the UAE he goes to India, and as they're catching the flight to India, they got all the stuff, and somebody's really impressed. He goes, "Wait till you see the car." And then in the car they got holographic displays on the window and stuff like that, which never actually happened in the actual car. But that was what we thought we were going to get. And so that one got 14.8 million searches on Google. But only 1.1 million Instagram posts and less than a million TikTok views. The Audi RS6 is at number 7. The Audi RS6 is an estate car, but it's the fastest bloody estate car on the planet, let's be honest, So, I mean, it's a heck of a thing. I love it. It's one of my favorite cars. 8.8 million searches. Bugatti Chiron, an actual hypercar. That's at number 8. And then the Audi RS3. That one, it's a great car. It's a great car. Don't get me wrong. I reviewed it. I reviewed the RS6 and the RS3 on this channel. You can go and search for those reviews. But that's at 8th position. And I'm surprised. I mean, it's great, but 8th position, especially when it sits above. So it actually was a joint 8th position, I should say. It was joint 8th position with the Chiron. So to complete the top 10, the Audi RS3 and the Chiron sit above the BMW M2. And considering that there's a new M2 out, I'm really surprised about that. 7.4 million searches, 1.3 million Instagram posts. I'll just tell you number 11 because this is interesting. Nissan 350Z. I'm surprised the 350Z is in this list because they said luxury cars. Is that a luxury car, 350Z? That's a sports car. This list is a bit strange. So 350Z is in the list at number 11. So let's skip over the rest because we shouldn't really go beyond number 10. But I just thought I'd mention that because I thought that was a bit odd. In fact, I'll tell you something else that's a bit odd. At number 14 is the Honda Civic Type R. And again, a fantastic car. Again, a review of that is on this channel. I love that car. Amazing. Especially the previous one. I haven't driven a brand new one yet. But why is it on this list? Luxury car? Sports hatchback? Yeah, but I don't know. Anyway, looking at some other things that they got. Most searched for luxury car models. So that was the most popular luxury car models of 2023, and then the most searched for luxury car models was actually the Audi R8 at number 1, then the Lamborghini Urus at number 2. This is just searches, this is Google searches, right? 20 million. Lamborghini Urus, nearly 19 million. BMW i8, 14.7 million. Weird. Instagram, BMW M3, as we said, BMW M4 at number 2, BMW M5 at number 3. So M3, 4.5 million, you can say, 4.47 actually. M4 was at 3 million and M5 was at 2.6 million. Again, one thing I gotta say here, I think this data is wrong in that sense because they've included cars like the 350Z and the Honda Civic Type R, but they haven't included the Ford Mustang. Now, I know for a fact that the Ford Mustang is 4.6 million Instagram posts. It has consistently been one of the highest posted about cars on Instagram. So I'm surprised that that's not on the list. That actually should be on the list and it would actually be at the top of this. So there you go. So slight problem there with this data, Genting Casino. And so on TikTok, M3 was number 1, M4 was number 2, R8 was number 3. In terms of the brands, the BMW was the number 1 brand, Audi was the number 2 brand, Porsche and Lamborghini hold joint 3rd place top brand. So these were the top brands. I'll just give you the 5th most popular brand was actually Ferrari, and 6 was Tesla. Interesting. 7 was Mercedes-Benz, 8 was Volvo, joint with Lexus, so the 8th and 9th, Volvo and Lexus, and then McLaren. So that's interesting. Most searched for luxury car brands was Tesla. This is Google searches, 103 million searches. Then BMW at 96 million searches, Porsche 62 million searches. I'm actually going to leave this data now and go back to something else that also popped into my research here. And that was this. And it was a study from Autotrader and Wikipedia. And they found also that Tesla was the world's most read about car brand, according to Auto Trader and Wiki. So they looked at page views on Wikipedia for 12 months, Tesla, and it was followed by Lamborghini and then Toyota, Toyota being the world's biggest car brand. So that's not really a surprise. So it was actually Tesla at 3.1617 million views in the last 12 months, Lamborghini at 1.6, so like about half, well, just over half, and then Toyota at about the same, 1.6 again, 1.5 actually I should say, BMW 1.4, Mercedes at 1.4 million again I would say, Volkswagen was number 6 at 1.3 million, then you had Porsche, Ferrari, Honda and Audi. So that's really interesting. So tell me, which are the car brands that you guys have been searching for the most? And I want to know from the people that have been searching for the R8 and the i8, what's with that?
Brown car guy.
Right then, so in my previous update, you would have seen the reports about what's the welcome that the ULEZ mobile camera vans have been getting in neighborhoods. And of course, we know that a group known as the Blade Runners has been targeting the ULEZ cameras in certain areas. In fact, I think at one point there was a report out that 90% of ULEZ cameras in the southeast of London were actually out of action. So they'd either been taken down, or they'd been vandalized, or they'd been covered up, or they'd just been stolen. So, so this has been happening. So now this is a report out in the Evening Standard yesterday, and it basically reports that Scotland Yard has nearly 800 crimes, 795 crimes recorded related to London Mayor Sadiq Khan's controversial ultra-low emission zone expansion. This includes 200 reports of cameras being stolen, 595 damaged between April and September the 30th. The actual number of cameras affected may be higher, as one report can represent multiple offences. So for example, if they get one guy, it's one report, but he might have taken down, well, and if you saw that viral video on TikTok where somebody had basically a garage full of cameras, and he said, well, it just took me a morning to do this. So yeah, it could be quite a lot more cameras. They've also arrested somebody, 52-year-old suspect detained on September 22nd, was questioned at a South London police station. He has been bailed until mid-December. In May, the Met launched an operation targeting the vigilantes attacking the ULEZ cameras. Two other arrests have been made. One person has been charged and bailed for trial in June 2024. The other case was discontinued by the Crown Prosecution Service. So, yeah, this is happening. And so one of the things that people need to be aware of is be very careful about what they're doing, and don't do anything that's technically illegal. So just be aware of that. There's one thing else that I wanted to add to that, a news story that literally came out today. So that was in the Evening Standard. And then the one that came out today, this was on BBC News. This is literally just a couple of hours ago, this news story has come out. ULEZ Harrow camera turned off after 927 drivers were incorrectly fined. What? Yep. So an ultra-low emission zone camera has had to be switched off after incorrectly snared more than 900 motorists. The camera was at, so if you live in Harrow, this is what you got to watch out for. It was at the Old Reading Junction towards Common Road in Harrow, northwest London. That is actually outside the zone. So that's the problem. So somebody's installed a camera that's actually outside the zone and has been snapping nearly 1,000 motorists with that camera. Transport for London has apologized and said drivers of the 927 vehicles had been refunded. It added that it had repositioned the camera and checked all boundary cameras were in the correct position. So just be aware. So this is the thing. So for example, I mean, it's not going to happen to me because I'm just on this side of the North Circular. I put my car on auto pay, and I know that the moment I drive out of here, I'm going to get snapped by, because you know there's the both ends of the local roads here. I know I have got cameras on them, so so it's not going to happen to me. But if you live around the perimeter of the expanded ULEZ zone and you put your car on auto pay, then be very careful to check where you're getting snapped, because it could be that you're getting snapped incorrectly. So fortunately, these 927 drivers found out that they were snapped incorrectly, appealed, they got refunded, and the camera has now been repositioned apparently. But yeah, just a word to the wise: be careful about that.
Brown card guy.
And finally, get this. So you've heard of BYD. Build your dreams. It says build your dreams on the back of their cars, actually. It actually says build your dreams on the back of their cars. I reviewed a couple of them this year. They're really good cars. You can see the reviews on this channel. In fact, on this channel, there's a playlist which all of my EV reviews. So if you're interested in buying an EV, all of my EV reviews are here, and I've done quite a lot of them. So go check it out. But this manufacturer, which a lot of people hadn't heard of, honestly, I think it was only 2006 that they actually got into the car building game. It has now joined the list of the top 10 biggest car manufacturers in the world, and it's launched itself ahead of Mercedes and BMW. BYD global sales grew by 96%. 96% to 1.25 million cars in the first half of 2023. Wowzers. And that put it in 10th place, just behind, well, I'll give you the full list in a moment, actually. They are basically making only hybrid and electric cars. So that's all. They don't do petrol cars anymore or diesel cars anymore. I don't know if they did diesel cars, but anyway, they may have done vehicles. But now they're only doing hybrid and electric. And what they've done, so they've actually moved ahead of Tesla. Tesla is now in second place, with Volkswagen third when it comes to only EV production. So as far as EV car manufacturers go, BYD now is the world's biggest manufacturer of electric vehicles. So that's quite extraordinary. So just to look at this, rest of this information, they exported 80,000 Chinese-made cars in the first half of 2023. 80,000 were exported. So that's a lot of cars for the domestic market if you think about it. 1.25 million that they've done, they produced, 80,000 have been exported. So they're basically dominating the domestic market. And if you think about it, if I scroll to the bottom of the story, in fact, that's substantiated by the fact that while manufacturers around the world have seen some growth now that their manufacturing has recovered, but they've seen their China market fall. Toyota, for example, saw 5% overall increase in growth in the first 2 years, the last 2 years since first 2 years since lockdown, I should say, since COVID. That was in Japan and in Europe, but in China they actually went down 3%. So that's interesting. Honda, Nissan, Mazda, Mitsubishi, they have also seen double-digit or greater declines in the Chinese market. Sales in China for Volkswagen, which normally accounted for about 30% of the German group's total, slipped also by 1%. Volkswagen Group is actually quite big in China, or certainly used to be. But what that tells you is that the Chinese brands are now dominating the Chinese market. So people in China are not aspiring to international brands, they're supporting their local brands, and these local brands are now being exported. And very soon, top 10 in the world on overall car production, and basically number one in the world for EV production, a Chinese brand, BYD, is quite extraordinary. To give you the full list, as we know, Toyota is the biggest car manufacturer in the world. It's at number one. I was going to say closely followed by Volkswagen, but actually there's about 1 million in it now. Actually, literally 1 million in it. 5.4 million for Toyota, 4.37 million for Volkswagen Group at number two. And then closely, I should say again, by just under 1 million, 3.65 million, Hyundai Kia. They're sister brands, so they come together. And then 4, we also have another coalition. It's Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi. 5 is Stellantis. That's cheating a little bit, because although, it is a coalition, there are other coalitions on there as well. Volkswagen Group, of course, is a coalition with multiple brands in it. But Stellantis, of course, is an amalgamation of America's third biggest brand of Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep. And then, of course, they got the entire Fiat group, then they got entire Citroen Peugeot group. So it's quite a lot of groups in there. But they're only at number 5th. And then America's biggest brand, GM, is at number 6 with 2.96 million cars. And then Ford is actually at number 7, 2.17. Most of those probably Ford F-150s. They're at number 7. Honda, just under 2 million, is at number 8. And then Suzuki, love that brand, plucky little brand that. At number 9 at 1.5 million. And then the BYD is at 1.25 million. So In China, vehicle exports surged while domestic new vehicle sales barely grew. So they've kind of reached saturation point within China itself. So these Chinese manufacturers are now focusing on exporting because they've dominated their market. So now it's about exporting. Chinese automakers exported 2.14 million in the first half of 2023, up 76% on the year. I mean, it's quite extraordinary. Now, just to keep you in mind, some of the other brands that are growing, we've got the Zhenjiang Geely Group. I always call them Geely. But Geely, of course, don't forget, they own Volvo, they own Lotus, so they own quite a lot of manufacturers. They are 13th. And then the Changan, I've reviewed cars from Geely and Changan in the past. That was at 14th. And Chery Automobile was placed 17th. So, yep. The Chinese car companies are soon going to dominate not just the Chinese market or the Far East market, but globally. It's happening, people. Become aware of it.
Brown car guy.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can.
And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars,
And yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here.
or right here on YouTube. Just hit these 3 little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first.
My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift.
Oh, by the way, watch this next.